The final week of the regular season for the 10th season of the GBA is finally here, and Playmore is taking on the San Francisco Arcaniners. This is an old rival of mine, an old friend of mine, and a game I've had circled on the calendar for the entire season. George, the coach, has multiple draft league championships under his belt, and championship belts at that. But not only have I faced him multiple times, and he's beaten me a few times, but another person on the call today for the first time, M&J TV. How exciting is it to be on the call, Mikey, as we take on an old nemesis of you and mine?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. It feels good to be back. It's been a long time since I retired. My time in Draft League was brief and deeply unsuccessful. And so I'm deeply afraid, I'm quaking in my boots, because this guy, he's good.
Yes. Tyler, as we look at the team, I think you just called me Jim. There's a lot of threats on the other side. Chi-Yu, Pokemon I've seen in the doubles format, absolutely terrorize people. King Gambit's scary. The other guy here talks about Garganackle a lot. He called me Jim. Let's just see what team Ben brought.
All right, listen here. We made playoffs, plain and simple. However, we're getting serious in this final week as we get ready for playoffs. We're treating George with the utmost respect, so this is the gang we're bringing. First off, we can't bring the heat without Thousand Sunny, our beautiful Torkoal, Stealth Rock, Lava Plume, Rock Tomb, Rapid Spin with the heavy duty boots. He has very good Stealth Rock options, so we have to run heavy duty boots in order to keep that longevity for our Sun pivot. And this is a great defensive answer to the like of King Gambit, Tinkaton, and Rillaboom. Just a very solid Pokemon and able to remove the hazards that they try to get up on our side of the field. To abuse that Sun, we have the MVP of the GBA season. If he just gets 2 more kills, he has 20 kills for the entire season. That is Roaring Moon with the Choice Band, just to kill anything he wants. We're rocking Crunch, Dragonclaw, Fire Fang, and Iron Head. It's very awkward not having U-turn on this set, but we need to have all this coverage in order just to try and lock into a move and clean up his game, as this is realistically still going to be our win con at the end of the day. Another very important Pokemon with amazing coverage to abuse the Sun is Slitherwing. First impression, close combat, Wild Charge, and Flare Blitz holding those safety goggles. We're able to avoid the Spore from Amoonguss. First impression is very nice versus a lot of Pokemon on their team for priority. Close combat destroys a Gaganachi. Wild Charge lets us hit the Gyarados and the Hawlucha, and Flare Blitz, of course, is very strong in the Sun while also managing to hit the Amoonguss. Next, we have our beautiful Hazard Setter and potential check to King Gambit this week in our Covert Cloak, Suian Samurott. Now, this is very physically defensive with Season's Edge, Aqua Cutter, Sacred Sword, and Encore. Now, even though they have Terra Fairy on King Gambit, I can very easily catch it into another move, click Encore, and then Samurott 1v1s it, assuming it locked itself into a Dark type move or a Steel type move, or potentially SD. And next we have Ginger with the Well-Baked Body. This is a very special defensive Darkspawn with a little bit of defense in order to deal with the likes of both Chi-Yu and Hawlucha ideally. Yawn is very spammable versus his entire team, and I definitely wanted to bring it. And lastly, we have a defensive Kilowattrel to help us versus Hawlucha, which is terrifying against us. With the Charty Berry and our defensive investment, we are able to live a +2 Stone Edge from Hawlucha after taking Stealth Rock damage, doing max 74%, and we pick up that KO with a Thunderbolt. So this is a very sneaky way in order to catch his Hawlucha, because we like bringing physically defensive frail mons, you know? It's just what we do here. And Volt Switch is very free against his team, as he does not have a ground type on his roster.
Absolutely love the team Ben's bringing per usual, but this is an extra exciting team. As guys, we're only 2 kills away from Roaring Moon being the MVP of the league, and it looks like this could be the game where we not just solidify the playoffs. No. We go into the playoffs on a winning streak. We won last week. This is exciting. I don't see anything too surprising on George's side of the field. We knew that Chi-Yu had a bad matchup. We know he loves Gyarados. Everything else there is pretty scary. But the one thing I really like not seeing is the Regieleki. That thing obviously would have outsped everything on our team. And at this point, it's really just Hawlucha that's outspeeding Roaring Moon, hopefully paving its path to a MVP and the first one for the Play More organization. Now, Mikey, you're new around here. What do you see on the opponent's side that maybe has you a little worried for this matchup?
Well, honestly, Jim, I'm not really thinking about the Pokemon on the opponent's side. The Pokemon I most want to see today is international pop star Taylor Swift-Tree. Here to see her boyfriend Travis Kelsawatrel on Play More play today. She's taken over the internet, and that's who I'm hoping to see today in the crowd.
I was worried you'd say that. Tyler.
All I have to say is we are never, ever, ever bringing Mikey back onto one of these after that. My word.
He has a lot of time to make up for that.
So you're one of those deniers. So you're one of those people who thinks the attention to Taylor Swift-Tree as part of the GBA is a bad thing. I think it's great. It's great for the publicity. It's great for the league. And there is a Pokemon that one might expect to show up last. And here it is first.
It's a really good point, and it puts us in a really, really good position as we definitely outspeed this thing, and we should be able to get a really big hit off on the opponent, but it seems like the coach is taking this opportunity to bring in Torkoal, set up the Sun for free, and all of a sudden our two offensive Pokemon are going to be terrifying for our opponent. So I really like that. Possibly allow us to get rocks up as well, which should be a huge benefit. Now that's the immediate Terra, the thumbs up. Ben was not worried, expecting that fairy. And you know what? I do really, really like that. Obviously, I see King Gambit. I think close combat. Our coach sees King Gambit and he thinks fairy. But there's also going to be the stealth rocks. I really, really like that from George. A really interesting lead. Make sure King Gambit is safe for the long haul. Rocks are going to be frustrating against our team, and now the coach has to really pick between getting our own hazards up and possibly going for a rapid spin.
And it seems as if our coach went for the rapid spin, which isn't going to do much damage, but those rocks are as gone as the winter.
Right,
you are. Waiting anxiously to see if there was another Taylor Swift reference waiting in the wings there.
Hey,
Taylor Swift-Tree, different singer.
Different person.
Well, hey, you get exactly what you want. If we go into Kilowattrel, and I think that would make a lot of sense, he may want to just get the spikes up. Kilowattrel is defensive. You know, there was a lot of talk from our co-commentator this week about Kilowattrel and what it's done this season. That was kind of reserved for the beginning of the season. It's kind of been delegated to more a defensive spot. We're focused on the MVP with Roaring Moon here, or maybe even Bubby, who's not here, unfortunately. But that's okay, as it seems that we're going to go into something else. The coach making a few interesting faces over there.
The game making some interesting cinematic cameras.
Gen 9, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's kind of how I react every time it happens. It's like, Scarlet and Violet, what are you going to do?
So far, we've done nothing to really hurt the opponents. But we do have an interesting switch here.
Oh!
Ooh, with Ginger. And was that predicting the Dragon Tail? I love that.
Ben gave a smirk like he had predicted that. I don't know if he was faking that after the fact, but he gave that face like he knew it was coming.
Ooh, I see he's clicked yawn. Whoever's coming in is going to go nighty-night, unless it is the Garganical with Purifying Salt, an ability that not only halves the damage from ghost types, but prevents status conditions.
That's a good call, Mr. Mikey. But we do have Body Press, so we're not super, super worried about Garganical. Now, I don't think we want to stay in and just try to chip it down with Body Press, but we do have coverage. It's not like they can set up for free. I do really like the yawn here. Gyarados could be a sub-setup variant, but thankfully that is not the case. It's always something to worry about. I can't imagine that George would want to try to set up and sweep this early, but possibly put in the mushroom that puts other things to sleep, asleep, and then switching into Buggy, which has, I think, safety goggles to prevent the sleepity sleeps. It's just a series of fun plays, boys. You don't see this often. The prep this week, immaculate. This is what you want to see going into the playoffs. Play More is here with big aspirations. Our opponent has won many, and that's why they switched immediately. I don't know if they expected safety goggles or something of the sort.
I think they probably expected another yawn, anticipating that Ben would know they were switching. But Ben knew if he goes for another yawn that there's an obvious switch on the other side. So he makes the prediction ahead of the prediction, and that's just what Ben's been doing all year long.
It's beautiful to see, and it is really interesting here. Breaking through Georgia's team without using Roaring Moon is going to be very, very difficult. Amoonguss, the stupid salt monster, really frustrating core. But not only that, King Gambit is a fairy type now, not something we really want to deal with. So I am really interested to see what Georgia's switch in is going to be on our Buggy McBug.
I feel like King Gambit would take the close combat very well now that it resists the hit. And then, of course, I believe it's a steel type, and so it has high defense, but I could also be completely making that up. I do not have base stats memorized.
I really like the inflection there. You're doing great, sport. I think it does have high defense, but as you said early on...
Its physical defense is 120, so
okay.
Mikey, you nailed that.
Oh, he didn't switch!
Oh! Oh my God!
Let's go!
Wow! I don't have any words for that. That is actually incredible. I knew that this little guy here, this Buggy, would put on a show. I've been waiting for Slitherwing to have its matchup, and here it is. But to take out a Garganackle full health, that is insane. Always a chance that thing could have sturdy. Makes sense for it not to just most of the time, but it still could have. The fact that it did that much damage, I feel really good about this start. Obviously, Amoonguss is still there. As Mikey said, we still have the King Gambit, which can switch into, first impression and the close combat butts. That really opens things up for us.
I just want to take a second here to point out the athleticism of Buggy the Slitherwing. Close combat with nubs for arms, the amount of training necessary to make that work and so effective against a Temple of Salt, that's incredible. Kudos to that player and their coach.
Well, I had gone out of my way before the battle to just blatantly, without regard, brag on Slitherwing. When you guys were talking about a completely different Pokemon, I thought you were talking about Slitherwing. I was like, yeah, that guy, he hits hard. I feel vindicated now.
As you
Validated.
As you should, Tyler. Slitherwing has not gotten the chance it's deserved, but it hasn't pouted on the bench. It's been training. As Mikey said, it's been putting in double time in the gym. And I'm expecting a big game out of it. I would love to see 2, maybe 3 kills from that. But I do really love to see this. We eat that up. The rocks are gone. We don't want to deal with the hazards on our side of the field. And now, we could probably just spam Lava Plume. If we get this thing burned, George is in a really bad spot. If he goes into Gyarados, we get that burned. Could be in a really bad spot. But Stealth Rocks also is just going to be the most helpful option long-term in this battle.
Does George have any hazards removal?
I'm pretty sure he doesn't, and it's not something we're expecting to see. It was in the notes from the Beneral, so I feel pretty good about us getting rocks up and them staying. But it's hard to tell. There's so many new Pokemon, you never know who's got Rapid Spin or some newfangled move. What I do know is that Gyarados, not gonna love Stealth Rocks.
Although there is the possibility of another Stone Edge coming out, and then 1K Sunny here is gonna be a bit less happy than he currently is. But the withdraw!
This is why Ben went for the Stealth Rocks. I really, really like that play. Expecting the switch because they don't want to take that Lava Plume. It should be a free turn to get the Stealth Rocks up. Now, obviously, this Gyarados is in for free, but Ben's already switched in Darkspun on the Gyarados. He is not super worried about that thing. He's going to do it once again. I assume he's going to go for Yawn again. There's no more Salt Monster, so that thing is not going to be eating up Yawns. And now with a Yawn plus Stealth Rock switching, it's going to be really frustrating for George. So we really, really got to hope there's no substitute from the opponent. But I like this position so far. As you mentioned, Mikey, Torkoal only has so many more hits left, so you can't be too brazen with it, but it definitely can set up Sun at least one more time in this battle and hopefully allow Roaring Moon or the Buggy to pick up a kill or two.
Yes, I wonder what kind of offense could Gyarados use that could do any significant damage to Darkspawn? Because any water moves are nerfed by the sun. Crunch is resisted. Does it have anything that Darkspawn would not eat up?
I don't think so.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yep, and that's why we see that switch right there. It was a really, really good question. Obviously, our opponent is predicting the Darkspawn. And Mikey, we can attest to it. George, one of the best battlers Draft League has ever seen. He's definitely beaten us. We are going to play against a coach this week that's got the prediction capabilities of our coach. But I'm putting my confidence in the Beneral. He might be making a prediction or two. But so far, so good for us. It's just going to be interesting to see what George wants to do to really strike a little fear into us, break through our defenses. Because right now, so far, so good. And if he goes for Spore,
you assume it's going to be some kind of status move, but did it double predict and go for Toxic? That's a great prediction on his part.
It is.
I take back my
saw the Slitherwing switch in earlier in the game and learned from it.
It is interesting to really figure out what to do here. As Flare Blitz, it's not going to be boosted by the sun. We don't have the photosynthesis anymore. It's still going to do a lot of damage here, but it's really going to weaken Slitherwing. And if Buggy goes down, I mean, this win is really going to come be put all on the back of Roaring Moon, which we're fine with. And we're trying to get that thing to be the MVP of the league. But it is a little nerve-wracking as Toxic could whittle down some Pokemon on the team.
Now, I'm wondering if they leave in the Amoonguss here, if they switch it, and if they switch, did George again anticipate a switch? And does it work out in our favor and we get a big hit here? We should.
Non-resisted hit.
Now, I feel like this is exactly why Ben went for the Flare Blitz. It's either going to be, oh my God.
That did nothing.
Well, on the bright side, Buggy didn't take much damage.
True, very little recoil. That was very strategic, Bubby. Great stuff. Great stuff. Way to look out for yourself. Take care of yourself first, buddy.
I still do like that, though. Any damage is good damage on Kingambit. We really need that thing gone so Kaido can hopefully take out all of those Pokemon. If you lock yourself into a Dragon move, not great. A Dark move, not great. You really need to get that thing in a position where hopefully you can two-shot it with whatever move you lock yourself into. But once it's gone, just Dragon move or Dark move to Oblivion, and we should be able to win the battle. So George is going to want to keep that Kingambit at a pretty good amount of health. So anytime we can get any amount of chip, get that to switch on rocks, take some Flare Blitz. I love that a lot. And I think with all of that in his mind, the Beneral is thinking about, hey, can we get this thing in? Can we get some spikes up? It's a little risky because the Terra Blast would make me sad, but if George, if he keeps doing the old switcheroo.
I wonder if he's also wondering if he might be able to Encore lock him into Stealth Rock. If George gets greedy with it. Because we saw the Encore. John, I know you were very excited about that coming into the battle, and you don't see it used often. I don't know if that's going to be in George's mind as something that's going to be in this set. If we get this could be huge.
Yeah, I really think Encore it's not completely the mark of a great Draft League battler, but I do think it does separate maybe a solid battler from a good one, solid to a great one, where Encore's not a fun move and it's not always going to rear its head. But when you get yourself into a position like this, you're able to be a little bit more aggressive. Obviously, we don't want Hisui and Samurott in on a Fairy type, 9 times out of 10. But if you can Encore this thing in the Stealth Rocks and then get a Ceaseless Edge, get free spikes up, all of a sudden we're in a really, really solid position. And I don't really know what George is going to want to do here. There is a chance he just switches out and the Encore play is not going to be as flashy and fun. But this feels really, really safe as it is.
But it is flashy and fun. Applaud the Kingambit. You must do it Encore, which means you do nothing.
Encore. Woo! That was great, buddy. Do it again.
I needed. That's the energy I needed, boys. And now we get spikes up, and all of a sudden, this frustrating strategy we have seen from one Sceptile MC is going to get a little bit less frustrating for us and a little bit scarier for him as he just inches his way closer and closer to the team being fully broken open. Gyarados doesn't want those Stealth Rocks. Kingambit, the Amoonguss, these other things, they don't want the chip as they keep switching in and in. So I really, really love this. It's going to be interesting to see what the switch in is here. Raunchy? Okay.
That's a name for that.
It's absolutely a name for it. And honestly, I have a lot less confidence in this Pokemon now that I've seen that nickname. And I know that's probably a mistake, but I don't understand what he was thinking.
That also did a lot more damage than I figured it would have, which again, we'll certainly take.
Yeah, for a moment, I thought back to my older days as a Pokemon player and thought, ooh, sword stance. Sorry,
maybe that's why it's raunchy.
But ooh, almost a KO. But
Yeah,
it does seem that
yeah.
Raunchy's faster.
It absolutely is, but that was a fantastic play on Ben's. It was just a fantastic play. I'm so lost in the sauce, boys. This is such a pivotal moment that I
You're
don't know what
lost
to
in the
say.
raunch. It's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that myself, Tyler, but it has been uttered. Now, there are a few plays in every single match that are really going to determine the outcome, and I think this may be the most pivotal play in the game. That sword stance, if we switched out, that could have been a way for George to break through the team. Obviously not sweep, but breaking through could be really, really scary for us. Now we're in a position, hey, we may need to sacrifice something, but we will be able to revenge that thing. And we did not allow George to get that upper hand. So we were probably, no matter what, going to lose a Pokemon, but we're putting ourselves in a position where we get to decide what that is and then make sure this thing does not stick around too long. We're deciding it is the Hisuian Samurott. Fine with that. Now we get to bring in possibly Roaring Moon. Maybe we bring in Buggy to get another kill. But it looks like it's Roaring Moon as we try to get that thing in MVP. I know, we shouldn't be rooting for MVP, but with so much media attention on Shift Trees and Kilowattrel, we gotta get it back on the more important things. Michael, the first MVP in Playmore history. It's been an exciting season. Hey, maybe we're not finishing #1 in the standings, but this is something to be excited about. Strike some fear in the hearts of the opposing opponents as we go into the playoffs. This is a really exciting turn as we are going to go for that crunch, take this thing out, and we're 1 kill away.
That's absolutely thrilling. And while we wait for George to send in his next Pokemon, something I noticed about our squad this week that I think neither of you have noticed is that half of the team are named after One Piece characters.
No, that's
either of you aware of that?
Yes.
That's been a season-long thing. The fans got very upset. Yeah, they got upset. Our assistant coach came in, had his own nicknames. They rioted. Do I understand any of the names? No. I know that one guy has stretchy arms and a straw hat, and after that, I'm just thankful that Appleton was named the Bubby and Doxbun was Ginger. After that, go crazy, Benril. You've earned it. But I really, really like seeing the King Gambit switch. I want more chip. Obviously, this right here is the thing standing in between Roaring Moon and just, I don't know, going crazy with the kills. I don't think Mercenary over there is going to set up and try to sweep us. I don't think that's something we're worried about. But it is going to be really important to hopefully bring in Sunny and avoid some rocks, potentially.
Maybe, I don't know if Ben's maybe anticipating the aggressive play here with the Terra Blast of going straight for that kill on Roaring Moon and hoping that Sunny can eat it pretty well.
Sunny is going to take some rock damage, though, isn't it?
No, because it does have the heavy-duty boots, which I really, really love.
Here's the Terra Blast, the resisted Terra Blast. Oh, all day! All day, that was a cool breeze.
You love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. And this is where things really swing into our favor. We made the great prediction on the Tinkaton, the raunchy Pokemon over there. For better or for worse, I think for worse. But now, George is playing a little bit safer, can't mess around with threats. We're able to bring in the Torkoal. And as long as we can live a Stone Edge here, we're in a really, really good spot. Lava Plume, I love that here.
Stone Edge misses!
Here!
The double-edged sword!
Okay.
Burn?
Okay.
Nope, okay. Oh, that's fair. I mean, that would be brutal for George if he both missed the Stone Edge and got burned.
But now we just have carte blanche to go for a lava plume. There's nothing that can switch in that wants to take the lava plume. We're not worried about another stone miss. I'm sorry.
It's a double stone-edged sword. It could miss, but it also has a higher crit chance.
Competitive players are not creative like that, Michael. I think you've been away from the game for too long. We call focus blast, focus miss. It could just be stone miss. We just kind of throw the word miss for the word or for the moves that have like 80% accuracy. You keep your smart sayings to yourself. No, don't keep saying them. You're a great man.
Oh, well, was that?
Well,
Yep, there it is.
There's that side of the sword.
You see what you've done here with your fancy sayings? You see what you've done?
I mean, I don't know how much responsibility I can take for
Every bit of it.
Yeah.
It's a double stone-edged sword.
He
misses it, but then he gets a crit in exchange. So
you're sitting with the responsibility, good sir. You're sitting with it.
Would you have rather him crit first?
I would have personally. Here's mine. I would have rather him missed both times.
But that was never going to happen.
Yeah, I wanted him to miss the first one and then crumble mentally and just fall apart.
just forfeit. That's the match. I'm done.
This is interesting, though, as the double-edged stone sword, yeah, it giveth and it taketh, and it puts Ben in a position where we have to be aggressive. 4 defensive Pokemon, 2 offensive ones, one of them's poisoned. Hey, we're not bringing in Roaring Moon, as they would immediately switch into Gyarados. We don't want to deal with any of those mind games. Bring this thing in. If we want to go for the Wild Charge and it's crazy, hey, we can. I don't think Mercenary's staying in. If we want to go for the Flare Blitz, expecting it to stay in or expecting the Amoonguss, we can do that. Either way...
Yeah! The Supreme Overlord with the bisected heart finally goes down! I was getting sick of that thing!
I was getting very sick of it as well, and that again is why it was so important to bring this thing in. You have to keep the offensive pressure. So many defensive Mons. Doesn't matter if the recoil and the toxic hurts this thing. Don't mess around with threats. And now all of a sudden, boys, we are one Hawlucha away from a victory as Roaring Moon outspeeds everything outside Hawlucha. And I'm pretty sure at this point, 2 shots everything. And with hazards and the switching, I mean, they're not going to be in a really good spot. Now, Hawlucha is always going to be saved until the end of the game. So it doesn't really matter until the end of the game. But that is a dead Gyarados! Oh me, oh my!
How
Bang!
is the stubby-legged bug faster than the serpent of the sea?
Defensive Gyarados. And that's something that Ben clocked early on. Not going to be offensive, not going to be some sort of Dragon Dance variant. You know, we're 10 weeks into the season. The coaches know each other. They know what they like to lean on. And that was incredible prep. You gotta love Slitherwing there. And now we're just one Hawlucha away from this being our victory. Which, from the beginning of the battle, Hawlucha always had a chance to sweep. Unburden. It's got really, really good stabs. It's going to be able to outspeed everything. So we got to make sure we have our checks in the back. But I'm feeling really, really good about this. And Slitherwing could live to fight another day, as this thing still got that first impression, which would be great against a Amoonguss. What else?
I do believe first impression can only be used on the first turn it enters battle, though. Like
that's why if he saves it, yeah, he'd have to save it for that to be important. But it could be nice at the end of the battle. Hey, maybe it's enough chip to make sure we can take down the Hawlucha, even though it's resisted. You never know.
Well, I don't believe he can save it, though, because rocks are up. It's only got 14 HP, and our Rapid Spinner is gone. So Slitherwing has to stay in and just attack here because it's dead this turn either way.
See, that's what I like to call being a Debbie Downer. Now, by Debbie Downer, I just mean...
Right.
Correct in this moment, but you're bringing it up as the only thing that could ruin this big game for us. This is a really big game. George has been retired for years. I hadn't heard from the man for a while. He comes back. He's going to try to ruin our MVP season? Ruin our incredible streak as we're going into the playoffs? I don't think so, boys. It's time to get serious, okay? Oh, no. Oh, no. Mikey came into this battle and he talked about Taylor Swift tree. and Kilowattrel over here. And Kilowattrel
Travis
may be,
Kelsawattrel.
yeah,
Kelsawattrel.
I'm not dignifying that. And it may be the only thing standing in between us and this thing getting out of hand. So Mikey, I'm going to let you and Tyler take over.
Let's go, Travis! Show off for your girlfriend!
All right. Tyler, I know you are sneaky a big fan. This is your moment. You and Mikey, you can talk about this. I'll take a back seat for a second.
Well, you want us to just dive into shift tree conversation?
Hey, whatever you feel's right.
Well,
I mean, I just think that Travis here needs to shave his mustache.
I think the what is it, Mikey? How do you say
Travis
it?
Kelsawattrel.
I think Travis is seeing to get more shift tree references in. Seeing red, quite literally, in this situation. And I love the read. I think if you're Ben, I don't know here how aggressive we get. We knew they were probably going to switch there, but you have to make that play in case they keep Hawlucha out. I want to see here how aggressive he gets in this situation, or if maybe we kind of sit on what we've got because we know decently no matter what, if we've got Roaring Moon, we probably win this battle, but you still want to do what you can to chip that Hawlucha down as much as possible. So you've still got to force the issue and try to get it back out there on the field. So if I've been, I like the aggressive play here. Go for Air Slash. I mean, what's going to be the harm either way if they switch?
Yeah, both are weak to it.
Yeah, there's no con
Flinch?
for that move.
Yep.
Nope. Okay.
I got to jump in here, boys, as this is a terrifying place in the battle. Hawlucha is the only thing that could take us down. But now that we don't have the ability to get rid of the stealth rocks, our Pokemon are getting weaker every single switch in. We don't have the safety goggles anymore to protect us from the spore. Now, only one thing can be put to sleep on the team, but we're in a really, really scary position. And there is a really real chance this could go wrong very, very quickly. But at this point, I think we have to go for the kill shot here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is difficult. Do you predict the switch into the Hawlucha, or do you expect the Amoonguss to stay in? I assume you have to assume it's going to stay in. Either way, the Dragon Claw is enough. This is interesting.
He's
actually.
MVP. He's MVP.
If he
20
lives,
kills.
If he lives. I think if Roaring Moon goes down, or no, I think it may be MVP regardless. I don't know.
That was kill number 20 right there. He's got it on lock.
He's got it on lock. We just got to get this win on lock, boys.
We want the win locked down.
Yeah, this is really, really interesting. As our best Pokemon to take this thing down is asleep, we do have Ginger the Darkspun, which in theory should be able to deal with Hawlucha, but as Ben is probably going to Calx right now, this is not as locked up as I would like. Hawlucha is a really, really scary Pokemon late game, and there is a real chance he could rain on our parade, so we gotta go for the Dragon Claw, but we outspeed! Wait a minute!
Yeah!
Wait a minute! Whoa!
There was no Unburden yet. It still had whatever its item was, right?
I don't even know if it had an item because it used acrobatics earlier.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
Well, then I think
Wow.
Unburden only activates when it loses its item. So if
Right.
it never had an item in the first place, there's no Unburden.
No,
Right.
you are absolutely correct, and that's the interesting thing. Roaring Moon with its 119 speed is faster than Hawlucha with a 118 speed, but we were not max speed, we were not Jolly Nature, so there was still always a chance it could outspeed if it was Jolly with more speed. Obviously, we speed crept for this situation, and it just worked out. That is incredible. That is why I love Draft League. And we're headed to the playoffs, boys! MVP locked up.
Woo!
Wow. That was exhilarating. Mickey, I hope you join us again someday, but it's time for us to talk to our coach and see how he's feeling.
Another win and another chance to talk to our esteemed head coach, the Beneral. And Ben, this is one of the more exciting post-game press conferences we get to have, not just because we get to talk about an MVP in Roaring Moon, but because that MVP locks us up a bye week as we get the second seed for the playoffs. So right off rip, I've got to ask you, How does it feel to have one of those top 2 seeds alongside the MVP himself in Roaring Moon?
Man, I love points. Did we mention how much we love this point system? Flawless. Roaring Moon definitely deserved MVP of the entire league, getting 21 kills throughout the entire season, averaging over 2 kills a battle. That is my GOAT right there. So that felt absolutely amazing, and just to get it with the dub, secure that bye, chef's kiss. I know everyone wanted to see me destroy someone again and have another battle next week, but I gotta relax. Me and Bubby got a spa day next week. We gotta chill before we, worry about semifinals and everything like that. So very, very excited going into it.
When speaking of semifinals, that's where we're at immediately. 1 win away from the finals. It's a really exciting thing, but it's a little bit intimidating. How are you feeling having that first round bye? It's obviously a good thing, but how many times have you been in this situation? Do you think you're going to get a little rusty? You're getting a little antsy? What's going through your mind?
Only thing going through my mind is what I'm going to spend with my winnings in a few weeks. But apart from that, I'm still feeling pretty good. I don't feel like a week off is really going to affect me too much. It is pretty unfortunate that no matter what, there is no set bracket, so we're going to be facing the highest seed that comes from those 2 battles this coming week. So it'll be interesting nonetheless. There is a chance we face an opponent that we never faced this entire season, or we're more than likely going to have a rematch. So, I have plenty of information to work off from that, so I'm not really too worried about rust now that I understand how everyone works with their teams, what to expect, how they play, or from our own previous games. So I have plenty of stuff to work with to really, just flex my muscles and show what Playmore is made of.
Now, of the 4 teams that are in playoffs but did not get a first round bye, which of them have you played before? I ask this because I do not have access to the doc.
Man's a guest and doesn't do his research. I get it. We have the Atlanta Victinis in 3rd, who we just barely scraped by to get the 2nd seed over. We unfortunately did lose to them in the regular season, and I think they are our scariest matchup period in all of playoffs. So ideally, they lose immediately. The other team that we played, obviously Lars and the Borussia Dawn fan, very solid team. Some might say a lucky poison, I say calculated. And then the Chicago Dragapults is the team we have not faced, coached by Q, very solid battler. I love his team a lot, very scary with Dragapult. And then lastly, we have the New York Empoleon, who we just faced in the previous week and crushed 5-0. So, not sweating it too much.
When it comes to this battle, to put a bow on it, it was one that the final score made it seem like a very decisive battle, but it got a little scary there at the end. What was your mindset through that basically second half of the battle, as the whole time, obviously, yes, we want to get the win, we want to get the kill for Roaring Moon, but that entire time, Halucha is such a threat that can flip that battle on its head on a moment's notice.
Yeah, for sure. I think the scariest thing in that endgame is just that when I didn't see Rillaboom with Halucha, I'm like, okay, what is this item that's going to proc its Unburden? If it's weakness policy and air slash wouldn't kill, I instantly lost if they had Stone Edge for Kilowattrel, and assuming the SD and all that good stuff. So, or if they had Citrus Berry and they got more HP and then Kilo dies to 2 Stone Edges, then it's going to outspeed my Roaring Moon and kill it, and Darkspun's not going to do enough with Body Press to revenge it. So it's just it's really scary in that situation to where I didn't know what to expect. Halucha is one of the Pokemon to where if you give it the perfect endgame, just like Roaring Moon, it will more than likely win the game. So great job on George's part. He honestly brought his endgame this final week, which I'm really happy to see. He was bummed, obviously he couldn't make playoffs, but I appreciate that he still brought a fire team and played his absolute best. He even brought a Rock Polish Weakness Policy Garganical. Thank God I one-shot that, because I did not want to be memed on like that. That would have been very embarrassing. But no, it was a great battle. All my sets just worked kind of perfectly. I was able to pivot. You saw I made very quick decisions this week. I was very confident in my prep and felt comfortable going into this match. So glad to see it played out kind of perfectly for the most part.
Yeah, it's clear whatever training regimen you're having your players go through, they're looking great. They are not looking tired after a long season. They look in peak form.
I just shove rare candies down their throat.
So, Ben, we saw a lot of good plays on your side in this match, and all season long we've seen some fantastic plays, and that's why, because of this bye week, we have an opportunity to put together a collection of some of the best plays that we've seen from you and the Playmore team this season. But, Ben, we're not going to do it alone. We're going to need some help, aren't we?
Oh, 100%. Down in the comments, everyone, Playmore fans, please tell us what your favorite part of the season was. Whether it was a play from a certain battle, whether it was just a certain win over another team, whatever it might be. Bobby, of course, we understand. Just let us know what your favorite part was, and we'd love to see it.
Now, Coach, one final question for you. What do you think of the rumors of Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift?
Oh, you mean Bubby's ex?